Well, let me try this again. Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal for the 9th round of the Division 3 season here in the Midwest F1 League. 14 corners make up this technical 4.3-kilometer circuit with 8 to the right and 6 to the left. This track's through the S10 should create some overtaking opportunities. The drivers will have to be extra careful to not pick up any penalties, both on track limits and collisions. Hotspot with you on the call. Nice one today in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. 9th round of the season. We're past halfway, round 9 of 15. Here once again in Division 3. And it looks as if Brian Mosser has let me know it will be dry all race. So only a 14-car grid tonight, but the drivers who do need to be here are here. That obviously being Fuse Rogue, 3 race in a row winner. We've also got that of Brian Mosser in the Mercedes, Noganator in the McLaren. Fuse Rogue's going to take us for a lap around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, but what we will be doing at the moment, let's take a look at our driver standings. Noganator still, despite penalties applied last week, leads Brian Mosser by 4 points atop the driver standings. It's 389 to 385. A-Dub slowly starting to make his way into this picture at 366. Peter DRH in the Williams, not here tonight, 333. Soy Loco in the Ferrari, 333. He occupies 4th, Peter DRH, 315. Alex, 280. Demon in the Red Bull, 232. Call Me Maybe in the other Mercedes. P8, Fuse Rogue, P9, despite winning the past few races. And then Tono in the secondary McLaren, not here tonight, occupies P10. Those are your top 10 in the driver standings as far as constructors are concerned. As we see Fuse Rogue here making his way down the backstretch on his timeline. Oh, is that Mercedes going to get in the way? Well, it kind of is, as a matter of fact. Who is that? Is that Brian Mosser? No, it's Call Me Maybe. He was making his way on his outlap there. First across the line is a 1:11.035 from Fuse Rogue in the Williams. As far as the constructors are concerned, Mercedes occupies the top of the table with a very lovely 666 points. Williams second at 640. Alfa Romeo only 10 behind them at 630. Then it's McLaren 545, Aston Martin 538, Ferrari 487, AlphaTauri 455. Haas at 367, Alpine at 325, and then Red Bull in 10th at 325. Well, as I've said already, it's going to be a dry race all out, so should be a session very much based on qualifying results. This circuit definitely not easy to overtake on, as we've seen, both in real life and as well in Midwest F1. It looks like we do potentially have a Red Bull off towards the back. It was Demo, I believe, is the culprit of the yellow flag there, although it doesn't look as if anything has happened. Fuse Rogue still has provisional pole. A-Dub the closest next behind, just under 0.3 of a second. Texas Tornado, I believe, is on low fuel, so he'll be coming around here shortly to pit. Next across the line, I believe we're going to be seeing the AlphaTauri of Mayhem tomorrow, although he will be beginning a timed lap. Keep an eye on him, pair of the Ferraris. McKenzie and Soy Loco rounding the final set of corners now, the Wall of Champions. As it looks as if the Ferrari of McKenzie goes. Actually, I tell you what, he's out-qualified A-Dub there temporarily. 2.5 tenths of a second off. Soy Loco. Yet again, the driver likes to take those mediums to the start, and oh, look at that, brilliant Monza Special Ferrari livery on the Ferrari. That is actually, I tell you what, that is one of the better special liveries that the Ferrari has made. I wonder if the Alfa Romeo one has been added in. I do know that there is one for Alfa Romeo, and it does not look as if, well, A-Dub's in the pits, I can't quite see. However, I don't believe it's actually come into play just yet. As Noganator, current championship leader, on his way through turns 6 and 7 at the moment. Backstretch he goes. I believe this is a timed attempt, I'm not quite sure. Sure is treating it like one, that part's for sure. going to be coming up to the timing line here in a second, so we'll see if he's on the pace. No, he's over a second off of it. Looks like we've got the Red Bull of Gab, who I believe this is either an outlap or something for him. He's going quite slowly here. Not rightly sure what the deal is with that. Although we do have the Aston Martin of Alex also pulling off to the side. So I believe the next driver on a timed lap is that, well, I would think it's Call Me Maybe, although he is 0.8 of a second off. So probably not him. Is it the Ferrari of Soy Loco? Yeah, I'm going to think it is. DRS activated for the Ferrari. Fuse Rogue coming out on his outlap here. I'm actually more interested in seeing what he's up to as he's making his way down the backstretch now. Just a reminder, Fuse Rogue has won the last 3 rounds in a row after the start of the season, having 6 different winners. Fuse Rogue came in, won Austria, then won Spain, and then won Zandvoort last week. As he makes his way in towards the first corner now, let's see how he takes it. A little bit wider than the apex, I would think. I think he may have carried more speed, so we'll have to assume that one was planned through the turns 3 and 4 chicane. As he does it, looking well. Turn 5 in through turn 6 and 7 now. Second DRS section in play. Not going to see many overtakes here, considering we got this quick little right and then left switch back of turns 8 and 9, more of a flick down in towards the hairpin, where we saw Robert Kubica have his awful crash that he had. Oh, and speaking of crash, well, that was certainly a contact with the outside wall there through turn 10. Back in towards the pits will be Fuse Rogue. I don't know if he had any wing damage with that, although I'm sure that would make sense. So, A-Dub in the Alfa Romeo on his way. He's actually had himself a string of good results in these past couple of rounds, a couple of podiums thrown in. I'll get the exact statistic for you here in a second. A-Dub second last week in Zandvoort. Didn't have the best round in Spain, finished P10. Although when we were in Austria, also finished second there. So out of the 3 rounds that Fuse Rogue has won, it has been A-Dub. Taking second place in 2 of them, so that'll be something for him to look forward to here. Although it has to be said, Mackenzie has put together a very solid qualifying effort so far. So if Mackenzie is to be able to out-qualify A-Dub here, that would severely throw a wrench into A-Dub's plans, because really, he is on the verge of really getting into this championship battle. He still has some ground to make up here as far as that's concerned, but has to be said that the tandem of Brian Mosser as well as Noganator have not necessarily had the best results recently. I remember Brian Mosser had not found the finish at Spain. I don't believe he's had himself necessarily a good week to remember last week in Zandvoort. I know Noganator got hit with a 20-second post-race penalty for starting. Oh, that's the Haas of P. Gonzalez having a good little spin out of the second corner. Probably just oversteer there. He's got the Red Bull and the Williams on a, I believe, is that the Williams? It is Fuse Rogue. He's on an outlap yet again, so he'll be looking to redo his next time attempt. A-Dub currently 0.2 of a second off the pace. Although I don't believe this is his time lap. He has managed to shave off about another 10th. Fuse Rogue now finds himself nearly within a 10th and a half. Mackenzie, however, looks to be, I believe that said, just about 2 tenths quicker. Something or another. I didn't quite get a chance to see it, but Mackenzie coming through the final section of corners now. Oh, I tell you what, little wiggle of oversteering going through the exit of the Waller Championship can, but the line goes Mackenzie. 1:10.821. That puts 0.2 of a second back to Fuse Rogue. That, it has to be said, is a very good qualifying effort from Mackenzie, and still just over 7 minutes to go. So Fuse Rogue will be next up. He's on his outlap now. Let's see if Fuse Rogue will have anything to do here. And no, he's come back into the pit, so he's gone for an outlap, and then he's come right back in. Slightly odd. Here's Demo, and he has invalidated his previous attempt, so he'll be coming in now. Red Bull with Gab on his outlap. Brian Mosser in the pits. Alex to the line. Doesn't look a bad attempt. It's a 1:11.819. 0.5 of a second faster. Puts himself up to P6. Now within a second of the provisional pole sitter Mackenzie. Here's Call Me Maybe, who doesn't look as if he's on a time lap. So only Soy Loco on track. I tell you what, Soy Loco coming to the final chicane now. This doesn't look to be the best lap for Soy Loco. It's going to be in the 1:13. He's slower by 7/100ths of a second. Now, I'm wondering if he's going to give it a go on this one, because he was using the mediums for the longest time for those reconnaissance and practice laps. But now, with 6 minutes to go in the session, he does need to find himself a competitive time as he makes his way through turn 5, eventually in towards 6 and 7. Once again, the Ferrari having their special livery this week for the Italian Grand Prix, which we've gone on a streak of, you know, these past couple of seasons we've been following along with the real-life schedule for the most part, and I'm not quite sure why. I know Pork doesn't very much like the Italian Grand Prix as far as in the game, so I'm actually not quite sure why we haven't gone to Monza this week. In fact, it's not on the calendar at all this season, so I'm quite interested to see what the reasoning is behind that. It doesn't look like Soy Loco is going to be improving here. If he is, it's very minimal, although he will be going for it. Out of the wall of champions chicane. That's one of the cleaner goes through the wall of champions chicane I have seen. To the line goes Soy Loco at his P4, 1:11.216. 2 seconds faster than his previous best. Moves himself onto the second row. Very nicely done. Only 3/1000ths of a second behind A-Dub in the Alfa Romeo, who, coming out on track now with just under 5 minutes left in the session, does not look as if Alfa Romeo have implemented their special livery into the game this week, although the update did come out and then they announced it, so that's probably the reasoning behind that. Demo on his outlap. Brian Mosser, Sector 2 so far, 1/10 of a second faster than his previous best. Let's see what Brian Mosser has to do here. Coming towards the timing line now. What does he have in store? 0.3 of a second faster. And it's purple Sector 2. He's gone quite deep in the hairpin. But I'll tell you what, that wasn't that slow of a go through it, although he's split the grass on exit. 4 minutes to go. I mean, obviously he's in the top 10 right now. He'd like to be within the same second as the leader. Oh, and he's made a hash of the final chicane, hasn't he? And that one's not quite helpful. Being a 10th slower, but he'll really need to get this car back round and maybe a new set of tires, and then get the car ready for one final go of the qualifying session. It does look as if the A-Dub is up now. This is his timed attempt. Out of the second corner he goes towards the turn 3 and 4 chicane here, which we saw Sebastian Vettel have his moment alongside Lewis Hamilton back in 2019, I believe it was. Looking okay for the most part. Through Sector 1, A-Dub goes, well, I didn't see the time. But through Sector 2, A-Dub turns 8 and 9 now, looks quite well. Little oversteer there. He had that coming out of turn 3 and 4 as well. So the timing line goes A-Dub. He's actually slower by 1/4 of a second so far. Just under 3 minutes to go, so I think he may have enough time to get this car in. And then new sets of tires and any final adjustments he needs to be made. Let's see what he does. Does he stay out or come in? I would assume... Well, actually, no. I assumed wrong. Bit of a tank slapper there. Finds the right rear tire nearly hitting the exit wall of the champion chicane. Currently 0.6 of a second slower. Mackenzie out on track. On an outlap, Fuse Rogue currently, I believe, about to start a time lap here as Alex has retired. That being in the pit, so no worry there. Fuse Rogue is 0.2 of a second to make up here on the current provisional pole sitter, as A-Dub apparently has left the session. I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that. Probably just disconnection there. 2 minutes to go now, along with Fuse Rogue on what is most likely going to be his final timed lap attempt here. A little bit of oversteer coming out of the second corner. That one could be difficult. Through turns 3 and 4, looks pretty clean, has to be said. No worries through turn 5. He is currently faster by just under 2.5 tenths of a second. We'll have to see if Mackenzie now. Mackenzie's invalidated the outlap here. I'm hoping that's not a this and next for Mackenzie. Along with Fuse Rogue. Oh, and speaking of Fuse Rogue, he has invalidated through turns 8 and 9 on what otherwise has been a very solid lap for the Williams. Wow, so he really, that has not helped him at all. Is he able to save, does he have enough fuel? Is he able to save enough battery to go back around and have one final attempt? I'm going to guess no, so this is the interesting thing, because Fuse Rogue, along with having the win these past 3 weeks, has also been on pole. And I don't believe Fuse Rogue is going to have enough. We may see ourselves a new pole sitter this week, as Mackenzie's on a time lap now. Doesn't look as if quite fast. That's about 2.5 tenths off the pace. Let's see. I know the recharge light is on here. So I believe Mackenzie's going to have this next attempt. A-Dub saying he got desynced from the lobby while he was 3 tenths up on his lap. Saying Brian Monter's left the session. Not sure what that's about. Mackenzie's going to have one final attempt here. Yellow flag in sector 2. I'm not sure how much time we have left. It's got to be not that much. 5 seconds to the line. Does Mackenzie get the final lap off? And yes! Perfect timing from Mackenzie, and now the final lap has begun. As Demo's retired, that being in the pits, I believe. Fuse Rogue has already finished out his time here. He's on low fuel. He will not be able to make it back around. A-Dub's done all he can. He finished. Oh! That was a hard hit then. Oversteer through the 3rd and 4th corner, and on exit, it was the right front tire going headfirst into the wall. And that one has not gone well for the current provisional pole sitter, although Gab on a time lap now. No, he's 5.5 seconds slower. Call me maybe, perhaps. To the line goes call me maybe, finishes P9. More importantly, though, Brian Monster sitting P12. Not ideal for him. Noganated to the line. Don't believe he's going to be improving here. So it will be Mackenzie on pole with Fuse Rogue 0.2 of a second behind. So your starting grid then for the Canadian Grand Prix. It's Mackenzie on pole by 0.2 of a second over Fuse Rogue. The past 3 rounds were won by the Williams. A-Dub 3rd, Soy Loco 4th, Texas Tornado 5th, Demo 6th, championship leader of Noganator in 7th, 8th is Alex, 9th is Call Me Maybe, 10th Gonzalez, 11th is Gab, 2nd in the championship, 12th to start the Canadian Grand Prix, it's Brian Mosser, 13th Dead Text Message, and rounding out the grid, P14 is Mayhem in the AlphaTauri. Well, Mackenzie has seemingly come out of nowhere and knocked Fuse Rogue off of the pole streak that he's been on. The last 3 rounds, pole has been claimed by the Williams. Let's see if the win streak continues, or can Mackenzie push Fuse Rogue off of that pedestal as well. And oh, by the way, the challenge of A-Dub's still there. He'll start 3rd. Hopefully an exciting Grand Prix coming up. Stick with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here for the 9th round of the season. Midwest F1 and the entirety of the Esports League brought to you by Raise Energy and Epos Audio. Should be a very interesting race to be had here. It's going to be purely pace, purely overtaking. 2 things that are very challenging to find at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But the last time we were here, I believe, was the tail end of last season, and that was a great race to round it out. I don't remember if I was in Division 2 or 3, but either way, Very fun time to be had on the eve of the first practice session for the Italian Grand Prix in real life. Once again, as it always is, this is Midwest Homecoming Week here in the Midwest F1 League. A large population of this league does belong to the Canadian nationality, so this is always a fun time to be in the league here. Always around that people take very seriously, and always around that usually is a lot of fun, so it's very good to see. I will say, I believe that's a full moon outside. Could that perhaps have any inkling on what the racing is going to be like tonight? According to my notes from last season, which I don't believe are very valid anymore, looks like we should be expecting the pretty simple medium to hard, although you never know. With the early safety car, it could change. Could be on the softs. Remember, formation lap is still off here. That was a good voice crack. Formation lap is still off here. Apparently the glitches with that has not been resolved. So it looks as if, well, hopefully, everybody's able to get off the line okay. I do remember Brian Mosser having that debacle off the line in Austria, where at the time he was tied for the championship lead and then fell 10 positions off the start. And remember, I don't have the timer to get to the grid anymore. So when we do get to the grid, it's going to be a complete and utter... what do you call it? It's going to be a real crapshoot for me to try to figure out what's going on. So hopefully not too much ridiculous anything happens off the start. I believe I did have... Nah. I thought I had some interesting facts about this track. I guess I didn't. I do know it is a man-made island out in the river in Canada, in Montreal. Once again, only 14 drivers on the grid tonight, so... I believe a lot of it is going to be penalty management, which is not necessarily a race you want to see, but it does add a nice, kind of extra variable into things here, and we do have 4 and eventually 5 lights, and they are off for the Canadian Grand Prix. Mackenzie will have the preferred line into the first corner, but if he or she holds it into the second corner, that's a different story. Fuse Rogue round the outside, and I believe Fuse Rogue is already taking the lead. The two Ferraris nearly making contact then, and as we look back, it looks as if everybody's gotten around okay. Demo has actually demoted A-Dub down to 5th. A-Dub has not had a very good start. He's down from 3rd to 5th already. That Ferrari of Soy Loco completely cutting the chicane, and then falling behind. I believe maybe did he get picked up for an illegal overtake. Nearly 3 wide into turn 6 and 7. As A-Dub and Texas Tornado battling it out here. A-Dub fighting to stay within the top 5. As we have a yellow flag, it's the Mercedes of Call Me Maybe who's gone off. And the safety car is out. And that is right in the middle of the track then. And I'm not quite sure what's happened or who he's gotten into, because that obviously is a very odd place to go off. And, well, that's not the start to the day that the Mercedes team was looking for. Because while they do have the championship lead in the constructors, it's not very much. The safety car out here. I've hardly had a chance to look at the tires. And I would say the mediums are the majority here. But let's see what happens. Does anybody come in for the early stop? 35-lap Grand Prix, long way to go. I don't think we'll be seeing any stops now, and we won't. So this safety car should be able to come in here very shortly. But it was Fuse Rogue who was able to start in second. Now, I was concerned because he was not going to have the preferred line through the first corner. If Mackenzie had enough of good go through turn 1, Mackenzie may have been able to hold on to the position around the outside, but that's not what's happened. So Fuse Rogue has taken the lead. Demo, the Red Bull, up 3 positions since the start. Soy Loco has stayed stagnant in 4th. A-Dub down 2. Texas Tornado down 1. P. Gonzalez in the Haas up 3. Dead Text Message up 4. He's the current biggest mover in the positive direction. Gab and Brian Moss are both up 1. Call Me Maybe up 1. Mayhem up 1. And unfortunately for Call Me Maybe, the first retirement of this race on the opening lap. Hopefully we're going to get the safety car in this time by. Field is pretty much stacked up. Shouldn't need the safety car out. We do. I mean, the accident... Oh, goodness me. Fuse Rogue has nearly ran into the safety car then. Shouldn't have really needed the safety car in the first place either. I mean, the car was off towards the back, behind everyone. For the most part, I believe Alex and Mayhem were the final 2 cars. Alex also not having a very good start to this race. He's down 4. And it does look like the safety car is going to stay out yet another lap. Very surprised the start that A-Dub has had. It's very much not gone to plan for him. And, you know, he's been on the cusp of beating out Fuse Rogue for these past couple of weeks here. Remember, he's gotten a 2nd place 2 out of the last 3 races, all of which were won by Fuse Rogue. And I tell you what, when you get Fuse into clean air, it may be all over. So I'm hoping, for the grid's sake, that Fuse Rogue has a difficult time here. But for Fuse Rogue, I think the most difficult portion of this Grand Prix is probably already behind him. However, say we do get repeated safety cars or virtual safety cars, that does sometimes cause lapse in focus among drivers. So maybe will that be the case? Does Fuse Rogue, you know, realize that he's out to the lead for now, but is he able to hold on to it? Yes, we're going to have the safety car on its way in this lap. Fuse Rogue. This is actually quite a good track for the safety car here, considering that, you know, Fuse Rogue has the ability to back up the grid the entirety down this back straight here, down the Casino Straight. And we'll have to wait and see, does he choose to step on the loud pedal exiting the Wall of Champions chicane, or does he do it beforehand and really throw the grid for a loop here? Tell you what, he's really stacking the grid up here. Not many a safety car in these past couple of rounds, so maybe could this be a weak point for him as they go through the Wall of Champions chicane? We're going to be back on the green here, starting the 4th lap of the Grand Prix. And Mayhem has picked up a 5-second penalty for a collision with Alex. That is not going to plan there, Mackenzie. Onto the gearbox of Fuse Rogue here through the 2nd corner. It looks like towards the back, A-Dub and Soy Loco battling it out. Texas Tornado down to the inside of A-Dub, and that position has been made up. A-Dub drops down to P6. Not very good for him. We have a yellow flag towards the back. It's Dead Text Message, who is now missing a front wing as well. This exiting the 2nd corner, not very ideal. Perhaps would we get a virtual safety car for the wing littered on the circuit? The answer is no, as the green flag stays out here. Texas Tornado now down to the inside of Soy Loco, in towards turns 8 and 9. Very unorthodox place to make a move happen. Soy Loco's been forced to use the runoff there. A-Dub up the middle, takes 1. Does he perhaps get 2? He's going to have to go around the outside of Texas Tornado here. And it looks like he may even end up losing the places. A-Dub, as now Soy Loco will be hot on his heels. But A-Dub was able to make up the spot after Soy Loco goes off track. And A-Dub nearly had the move on Texas Tornado in towards the Wall of Champions chicane now. Highly doubt anything would happen here. Oh, little wiggle of oversteer, but that wasn't too uncommon for both Texas Tornado and Soy Loco behind. Fuse Rogue has the fastest lap so far. Mackenzie still hanging on to the 2nd gap. Demo closing in on the Ferrari as well, 6/10 of a second and closing. As Texas Tornado has fallen off the back of the podium 3 here. As Dead Text Message 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. And of course, the lack of front wing that he has also, not only is it a lack of downforce and cornering ability, as we see the Haas of P. Gonzalez round the outside of Soy Loco then, going through turn 7. And I believe he's able to make that one happen. Yes, he does. Brilliantly done from the Haas. Well, I was going to say, not only is it cornering ability, it is braking ability as well, as Alex getting around Mayhem tomorrow then. Well, Mayhem today. Soy Loco goes deep into turn 10. Nognator may have a move to the right, and he doesn't. Although, don't speak now, peeking his head into this battle as well as Brian Monster in the Mercedes. Nobody has DRS yet, but the battle between Brian Monster and Nognator started earlier in the Discord, when Nognator didn't have Brian Monster added, as Soy Loco picking up penalties for multiple warnings. Then Nognator to the left side of Soy Loco down the pit straight in towards the first corner. Does he have the position? As Alex retires that, being in the pits, side by side still between these two. That may open the door for one of the cars behind, along with Gab, as it looks like Soy Loco has dropped the place to Nognator then. Oh, Gab has gone wide. Well, I tell you what, he's not taking that chicane all that brilliantly as Brian Moss around the outside through turn 5. Well, as I was going to mention, the battle between Brian Mosser and Nognator started earlier in the Discord. Brian Mosser is the host of this division. Nognator did not have him added. Brian Mosser warned him in the grid at least the once, perhaps several times, that if he didn't have him added, he wouldn't get the invite, and Brian Mosser did refuse for the time being on inviting Nognator. So hopefully that one doesn't result in too much extracurricular activity here on track. Meanwhile, P. Gonzalez has DRS on A-Dub here. A-Dub's had not the best start to his Grand Prix, although he has quite fallen off the back of Texas Tornado, hasn't he? He now finds himself 3 seconds behind the Alpine, perhaps trying to take it more carefully. As you see there, he backed into the Wall of Champions chicane quite slowly there. As perhaps, again, not having time penalties will really help your cause today, as P. Gonzalez all over the back of the Alfa Romeo here, as A-Dub really fought some oversteer coming out of turn 2 in towards 3 and 4. And no overtake to be made just yet, but he is certainly looking for it as the Haas. Oh, I tell you what, Gonzalez has to hold on. Down the inside goes Nognator into turns 8 and 9. Oh, contact made, and P. Gonzalez goes around. Well, I tell you what, Nognator really did, and that was quite the move in an unconventional position, that into turns 8 and 9. You don't often see it happen there. And I don't believe was P. Gonzalez ready to defend the position like that, but that may have caused damage to the McLaren, as Soy Loco was able to get around him quite easily here. Naturally, Nognator didn't have DRS, but still, you have to wonder, is there now side pod damage to the McLaren? Demo looking to the inside of McKenzie here through turn 2. It's a battle between the medium and the hard tires. McKenzie has dropped 2.5 seconds to fuse Rogue already. Through turns 3 and 4 they go. Earlier in the qualifying session, we saw McKenzie have the DNF at the final minutes coming out of the turn 3 and 4 chicane. With Brian Mosser, 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. And oh, by the way, well, he's within 2.5 seconds on Nognator. That's going to be a battle in the making here quite shortly. These two have been battling for the championship lead the entire season, Brian Mosser and Nognator, and tempers often flare, as they will, between two drivers looking for a championship. As we're within the second half of the season now, they'll both, I assume, mean business throughout the coming rounds, as next week we head to the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Demo down to the inside. Well, I thought he was going to go for it. He didn't, thankfully enough. Oh, but he will get a better exit of the Wall of Champions chicane here. They'll be side by side into the first corner. Does Demo have a move? I believe he does. Yes, Demo does get the position, although McKenzie has the outside. Who gets better acceleration? Oh, McKenzie did have oversteer then, and will now be under pressure from Texas Tornado. P. Gonzalez, 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. Not ideal for him. Noganator getting around Soyloco in towards turn 3 and 4. This one may get hairy. Side by side. And how the hell have they stayed this clean? Noganator has done well. Soyloco has done well as well. Still so side by side. What a battle this is. Wheel to wheel through the most tight and treacherous parts of the track. And Noganator comes out on top. It was a brilliant battle, that. Oh, and I believe Soyloco losing spots here. Yes, he is. Very much. I tell you what, maybe you got a poor exit out of turn 8 and 9. I'm not quite sure, because he has then lost about 3 positions there. As Mackenzie now will Mackenzie perhaps have the ability to battle back to Demo? As Brian Mosser getting around the Red Bull of Gab. And yes, Mackenzie does make that move happen, as Texas Tornado now could be in the fray. A neat little battle for the second spot here. Mackenzie's taken back the top spot. Texas Tornado will now have DRS back to Demo. Going down the turn 7 to turn 8 straight here. Meanwhile, Brian Mosser now within a second and a half of Noganator, and Noganator does not have DRS to A-Dub ahead of him. That one could get hairy quite soon, as here they go in towards turn 10. Soyloco 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. I believe that puts him at 6. Yes, it is. I tell you what, the Red Bull of Demo might be having a look here down the back straight. 3-second gap between Fuse Rogue and Mackenzie and the Ferrari. And I think Demo, had there not been the Wall of Champion chicane on the other end of it, he would have absolutely made that move. Certainly was trying to play it aggressive. As now Texas Tornado might be looking to have a go here in towards the first corner. And I'm afraid he's not close enough to make that happen. But Texas Tornado suddenly putting himself into position here for the podium spots. This is a position we haven't seen Texas Tornado in recently. Oh, I tell you what, Mackenzie, something's happened. Well, something's happened with Mackenzie and the front wing, the end plate on the left-hand side, and Mackenzie's got a puncture. Has there been debris that Mackenzie's ran over? Because suddenly the puncture's happened and the end plate is gone on the left front side. Well, I'm not sure whose debris Mackenzie would have ran over, but it has certainly happened. And you don't often see punctures. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen one on broadcast, but that is definitely a blow to Mackenzie here, as he was very much within reach of finishing on the podium today. Still a lot of race left, but you're falling down the grid this early as Gonzalez is retired entering the pit lane. As it looks like Noganator getting around A-Dub for the third spot. We have cars coming into the pits. The answer is no. What? Oh, desync's happening. That's what's happening here. Yeah, I was about to say we're having desync. As it turns out, very similar to the problems we had last week. Yeah, not ideal. I believe we will need to have a restart here. Although it doesn't look as if. Has Fuse Rogue decided to pit? Well, yes. But I'm not entirely sure what's happened, because we don't appear to be under safety car or anything. Texas Tornado apparently has the lead of this race. Fuse Rogue finds himself 50 seconds behind the grid. Texas Tornado, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. as much as we know, is the puncture has happened. For that of Mackenzie, although I'm not quite sure why Fuse is 50 seconds behind. That doesn't seem right. Although could it have been him that crashed and had the debris? I'm not quite sure, but Texas Tornado has the lead of the Grand Prix here. According to my screen, at least. Texas Tornado has the lead of the Grand Prix. Demo in pursuit. Don't look as if there's been any calls for disconnects within the Discord. So maybe it is genuinely Fuse Rogue just pit early. Although being 50 seconds behind, that does seem quite unusual. Soy Loco 3-second penalty to him. That puts him at 12. Looks like Soy Loco trying to get around Gab here around the outside. Even I tell you what, maybe has he been bumped into that corner, because he's gone exceptionally wide through turn 2. As Mackenzie picks up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. I'm not quite sure, but Soy Loco's looking to get back at him here. .4 of a second separate Texas Tornado, the leader, and Demo. I do apologize for my, what do you call it here, my silence at times. Oh, as Texas Tornado, 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. I'm just keeping an eye on the Discord, trying to do some investigative work. This Soy Loco getting around Gab. So it looks like the mediums will be coming in here shortly to change to the hards as Texas Tornado comes back out on track, although now he'll be looking at 8 seconds worth of penalty. This promotes A-Dub back to the podium 3, Demo to the lead, Noganator, the championship leader, to second. As it looks like Mayhem and Texas Tornado side by side exiting turn 2. And it looks like Texas Tornado's actually been able to make the move happen. During that battle, Noganator has picked up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That will definitely throw a wrench into his plans, considering now, I mean, you can see Brian Mosser's on 3 seconds himself. And he's got about 4.5 back to Noganator, but that's going to be a pure battle for position between those two. As Fuse Rogue sets the fastest lap of 1:12.981. Who else is there that hasn't stopped yet is my next question. Pretty much all the top 8, minus that of Texas Tornado. Demo started on the mediums, A-Dub mediums, Soy Loco and Texas Tornado battling it out here. Texas Tornado around the outside before they get into the wall of champion chicane. Very nicely done, although Brian Mosser, it is A-Dub into the pits now. I thought Brian Mosser was making a move. A-Dub into the pits, hards going on. And so he will be set to the end of the Grand Prix. Just shy of halfway here, as it looks like, oh, that's a big impact. Soy Loco's gone around. And the safety car on track. Debris litters the circuit here exiting turn 2. And the safety car comes out. Well, Soy Loco, I will say, very unfortunate situation for him. Burn Mylander in the safety car has kind of thrown him a saving grace here, as now he's able to at least stop and repair the front wing and be able to be caught up to the rest of the grid. And just to look at the penalties as well, Texas Tornado, if he pits, will get that 5-second remove down to 3. Mayhem will have it as well, down to 3 as well, should he pit. Looks like Fuse Rogue, going past the safety car. Demo is on his way in to switch to the hard tires. Noganator, who started on the hards, what does he decide to do? Does he go for the mediums? Yes, he does. Brian Mosser, does he follow suit? As Noganator, a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. My goodness me, Noganator. Huge mishap for him as the mediums go on. That will be a massively detrimental penalty for him. Huge, huge storyline there, as you can see. Mayhem serving his 5-second. Unbelievable stuff. It looks like A-Dub will be able to stay and take... No, Brian Monster will get out of the pits ahead of him. A-Dub will rejoin the pack P4 as one of only three drivers in the top 5 with no penalty attached to his name. As the safety car sorts itself out, I'm going to step aside for the time being, but what a story we have unfolding here. The safety car is going to be on its way in this lap. Interesting demo in his pit stop. He's taking the softs. Does he believe he's going to be able to take the softs to the end? He's going to have Noganator and Brian Mosser in pursuit as well as A-Dub. And I tell you what, guys, these two, in case you weren't already aware of the English, in case you weren't already aware of the rivalry between these two, it's very much there. Quick look at the penalties. Noganator does have the drive-through penalty that he does need to serve. So it looks like he's going to hold on to it and take that penalty next lap. That was for speeding under the safety car, I believe on his way into the pits. I'm not actually quite sure where he's picked up the penalty. But he absolutely has, and that's going to be a huge blow to Noganator's championship hopes here. As it looks behind, A-Dub trying to put pressure on Brian Moss. Remember, Brian has 3 seconds of penalty here, as it looks like McKenzie has swapped positions with Fuse Rogue before turns 3 and 4. Very nicely done between those two to sort that one out in a respectful manner at the very least. Texas Tornado, 3 seconds of penalty of his own, but he's trying to get past the Red Bull of Gab here shortly. So Texas Tornado, we nearly saw somebody go side by side. It's A-Dub has picked up 3 seconds of penalty, but down to the outside goes A-Dub, the Alfa Romeo on Brian Mosser. Yes, he's made that move happen. Brian Mosser, little contact to the back there. A-Dub tank slapper hits the outside wall. No damage done to the Alfa Romeo, but that one could have gone scary very quickly. So now it looks to be a pure battle of pace amongst every... Oh, I tell you what, Brian Mosser's going down the inside. But I tell you what, he certainly looked like he wanted to. And Noganator has stayed out again. I'm not sure what the penalty is for not serving a drive-through penalty, but I'm assuming it's not a very good one. Brian Mosser, oh, and just as we were talking about being a true battle of pace on track, he has picked up a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, English, yeah, doesn't work. Brian Mosser's up to 6 seconds of penalties now. So, everybody, except for Demo, the leader, in the top 5, currently sits on a penalty. I tell you what, Gab in the Red Bull might be having a good look here, as currently he's the only one except for Fuse in the top 10 without a penalty, barring that of both Demo and Fuse. So 3 drivers on track minus penalties. Soy Loco up to 18 seconds of penalties there. That for being, I would assume, track limits, as we do see there the switch in positions between the 2 Ferraris as Texas Tornado down the inside of Brian Mosser will force Brian Mosser back to P5. Nicely done overtake there from Texas Tornado, but side by side are these two. Do they do it going into the championship chicane? That would be something to see. Oh, and I tell you what, Brian Mosser has hit the brakes early, considering as Noganator is now serving his drive-through penalty. Yes, he is. That will relegate him all the way back to P10, maybe P11. Yeah, I think P11 is going to be the answer then. Not very ideal for him. As now Brian Mosser. Well, I tell you what, I'm not gonna say anything now regarding the championship, because commentator curse is very real, as well as pretty much everybody on grid having penalties. So this one may seriously get sorted out by timing here. But the on-track battle for second features Texas Tornado trying to send it down to the inside on A-Dub through turn 8 and 9. Oh, well, that's contact, and that's a car that's gone around. It's Gab in the Red Bull. has found the outside barrier then after contact with the Ferrari of, I believe it was Mackenzie. Well, I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but we do have a Red Bull who was on pace for a brilliant result, now finds himself down in P10. And Demo, by the way, I know I've mentioned this before, as Texas Tornado now down to the inside on A-Dub, going in towards the wall of Champions Chicane. Very nicely done there. If Demo's able to hold on and get the win here, it would be very well deserved, as he was very much on the brink of getting a podium and even a win in Austria. And I believe found an incident with Noganator that resulted in not a very good result for Gab. But oh, look at this. It's a double stack for the Ferrari team. Softs going on for Mackenzie. So Loco coming in, I believe 5-second penalty being served. And a new front wing going on. So Demo now has, in reality, about a 7-second lead over second place, and he's got over 10 laps to go here. Now, being on the soft tires, that is my only question. Is he able to hold on to the soft tires long enough to be able to make something happen? That's a really close call. We saw those on the mediums go in about lap 15. Could they have gone shorter or longer? Of course, there was a safety car involved, but it looked like lap 15 they were about to come in anyways. So naturally, lap 15 on the mediums as, oh, Fuse Rogue, 3-second penalty for him. As down to the inside looks Brian Mosser on A-Dub through the first corner. Brian Mosser's going to have to stick it around the outside here. Does he have it? No, he doesn't. In fact, I believe he just lost traction there temporarily. So 7 laps is what Demo is currently on now. And those on the mediums came in at about lap 15. I tell you what, the driver instinct is very much having a meeting with the strategical instinct in me as well. And it has to be said, it's not looking too good for the Red Bull of Demo. I don't know, that was either a massive mistake on his part or he's played this to perfection. And it'll be quite the sight to see at the end of the race. Here's your penalty layout at the moment. Positions 2 through 7 currently have 3 seconds or more. As Brian Mosser might be having a look at A-Dub here. No, he doesn't, but into the wall of Champions Chicane he goes. He's really had to let off there. Might be seeing Fuse Rogue make the move on Mayhem tomorrow. As Mayhem, 3 seconds of multiple warnings. That puts him up to 6. Very not ideal, but it looks like Mackenzie set the fastest lap on the softs. So only Gab, the 2 Red Bulls, have yet to accumulate a penalty here. Now let's go along with Demo for the time being. As Mackenzie picks up 3 seconds, that puts him up to 6. But I'm saying him, I don't really know if it's a man or woman behind the wheel. Mackenzie, I mean, Team Mackenzie, as A-Dub getting down to the inside of Brian Mosser. Side by side between these two. I was going to say K-Dog, I didn't find out was female until after I commentated the first race. So we'll see. I don't know. To the outside looks Brian Mosser again. And into the wall of Champions Chicane, it looks like Brian Mosser is going to have that one. And Fuse Rogue has gotten around Mayhem. But A-Dub, is he able to perhaps find a move here in towards the first corner with 10 laps to go? I tell you what, Demo's going to really need to hold on here. I was about to go along and see how conservative is he playing it, not really using his energy store. You can't see graining on either of the front tires. It's tough to tell, really tough to tell. I mean, in the qualifying session, naturally, we didn't see anybody go out longer than a couple of laps on the softs, as you would in a qualifying session, naturally, but still. If you're changing tires after only 1 run, that usually tells me the softs aren't very long-lasting. And naturally, Canada, I would say, is a fairly high degradation track. As A-Dub here was looking to have a move on Brian Mosser, did not be able to make it happen. Although that may have opened the door for Fuse Rogue. Hey, a familiar face back in the top 5 here. It looks like the pit stop indicator is on for Fuse Rogue. Oh boy! And he's ran into A-Dub. And the Alfa Romeo's gone round. Aye, Fuse Rogue has really done it wrong in there. As Noganator, that promotes him up to P6. Feel bad for A-Dub. I don't believe. Well, did Fuse Rogue notice that there was the car ahead of A-Dub? That's my question. Oh, that's not gone well at all, that. And I'm sure Fuse Rogue definitely is going to feel apologetic because that looked like he's just gone in too hot into the wall of champion chicane, and that's what's happened. Aye. Aye, not ideal there. We'll have to wait and see what the word is after the session. Because as much as A-Dub, now all I've ever known A-Dub, he's never really... This looks like dead text message. Oh, and to answer my question, Fuse Rogue picked up a puncture. Now, we didn't see that.
I'm not superstitious, but in the long history of F1, no one with the surname Hill has ever failed in winning a World Cup.
I didn't notice Fuse Rogue had picked up the puncture. That was different. As a, oh! Well, Fuse Rogue is, well, okay, well, what he's done there, he's gone and tried to avoid the time penalty by DNFing. And, well, at the end of the day, Fuse Rogue does get marked down as a DNF here. And that reduces our field of drivers down to 10. Fuse Rogue, I certainly believe, will be receiving LPP for that incident. But it looks as if he's going to call this one a day, and we know dead text message is being occupied by the robot at the moment, as he was having connection issues and was unable to join. Now, here's the situation. Texas Tornado in second, Brian Mosser third, Mayhem in fourth, all on 6 seconds of penalties. Noganator only on 3. Although Noganator at this moment in time finds himself, I would say, roughly 5 seconds behind Brian Mosser for that spot. I don't believe Texas Tornado would lose position here, but Brian Mosser, I think, would. Oh, this is a very tough call here because I think Noganator really... With that drive-through penalty, I truly thought it was going to be over and done with for Noganator's chances at maintaining the championship lead exiting this round. But it looks like, and as Brian Mosser, as I say that, Brian Mosser then picks up an additional 3 seconds, puts him up to 9. So that would mean Brian Mosser would have to remain 6 seconds ahead of Noganator, which at the moment, I don't think he's covered. Mayhem tomorrow here is the, well, I tell you what, McKenzie's suddenly within a couple of tenths of A-Dub here, as we have a yellow flag, and Soy Loco has found the wall, and the safety car will come out on track. My goodness me. Well, Soy Loco has lost it all on his own coming out of turn 2. My question is, does Demo come in? No. Demo's going to choose to stay out here. I don't think he much needs to panic. He'll be behind the safety car. He won't really need to worry about tire degradation behind those laps. As Texas Tornado comes in, fits the softs. Brian Mosser comes in, fits the softs. Mayhem coming in as well. You guessed it, fitting the softs. And oh, by the way, there's Noganator as well. Soft tires for him. A-Dub in as well. As well as McKenzie. As well as Gab. Everybody, except for Demo, has decided to come in. This this has suddenly become very stressful, I think, for Demo, because I think as long as Demo is able to hang, I think he'll still get the win, considering all the penalties accumulated by the drivers behind. We're going to get the safety car in here with only a couple of laps to go. This is a very interesting situation, because this now, if you're Brian Mosser, if you're Texas Tornado, if you're Mayhem, this has absolutely gone not to plan. As at least before you had the safety car, you had a slight chance of maintaining the position regarding time penalties and Delta, but no. I think Noganator may come away with second place here unless something happens off the start. That second place, by the way. And oh, by the way, not to mention this, Noganator, despite being the championship leader, has yet to finish on the top step of the podium. Looks like Fuse Rogue, yes, he has apologized to A-Dub. A-Dub has accepted his apology. Good to see. A-Dub's not typically one of those people that holds grudges. That's really nice to see. I do, you know, okay, we do see a lot of sometimes bickering amongst drivers, but it is good to see when drivers can resolve an issue, you know, and kind of just accept fault. And oh, by the way, A-Dub still isn't out of this race. I think he'll still be gaining some positions here, considering he resides P6 at the moment with only 3 seconds of penalty. The only driver with less penalty ahead of him is Demo the leader, and Noganator, who's also won 3 seconds. So I think if A-Dub can come out with a good result here, Fuse Rogue won't have to worry about the stewards. But I tell you what, Demo's heart rate right now, I would assume. Well, it's tricky to call, isn't it? Because he is quite safe as far as time penalties are concerned. He doesn't have one to his name yet. But still, how are the tires? He's been on those soft tires for 14 laps since the last safety car. And now Demo is going to come to the line here. He's going to have 4 laps to go here. Does he hold on and get the win? He doesn't even need to keep the one spot, the first position necessarily. He can drop back, and as long as he stays within range, he could still take the win. Well, he's decided to put pedal to the metal here. Off the line they go, and green flag once again. We've got 4 laps to go here in the closing stages of the Division 2 Grand Prix. Texas Tornado, Division 3 Canadian Grand Prix. Texas Tornado, I think, is definitely looking down to the inside. Gab has taken 3 seconds of penalty. Demo, the only driver on the grid who doesn't have penalty. And Texas Tornado really wanted that one. And he was really looking for it as well. But oh, and Demo is locked. Oh my goodness me! That is a huge incident! Brian Mosser's been collected! Well, Demo's been able to hold on to position, but Texas Tornado has not finished. As I believe... Oh my goodness. Brian Mosser has a puncture on the left side. Has he actually 2 punctures there? Yes, he does. I cannot believe what I've just seen. How much damage does the Red Bull of Demo have? Surely a lot on the side pod. That was a lot of contact between himself and that of Texas Tornado. My goodness. My goodness me. Brian Mosser's retired, I believe, on track then. That was the most insane turn of events I have seen. That brings the grid down to just 7 cars. Oh, that's big oversteer there from Demo. And I believe, is he going to lose the position to A-Dub? Yes, he will. The gap from the leader of Mayhem back to Demo is 2 seconds. Demo needs to hold on here for just 2.5 more laps. You can tell it looks as if he's driving on the icicles now. What Demo really needs to do here is get back to Noganator and try to push this pace as much as he can, because at the moment I think Noganator will get the win, considering he's only on 3 seconds of penalty, and he currently resides. Oh, as Demo has lost the car again, and A-Dub makes contact. And I think Demo now 0.2 of a second outside of winning position here. As Noganator down to the inside, he makes contact with Mayhem through the chicane, and now Mackenzie gets by. Well, that hasn't necessarily helped Noganator, battling for the position as much as he can, as Mackenzie and Mayhem going for it. Look at Noganator down to the inside. Does he get both of them? No. He's really making contact here with Mayhem. Huge contact, in fact. And my goodness me. Oh, and Noganator, Mayhem gives him a shot from behind, and Noganator's out of the Grand Prix, and so is Demo, and so is A-Dub. Have you ever seen anything like this? Well, final lap of the Grand Prix here. As Mayhem has picked up another 3-second time penalty. I actually can't believe what I've seen here. There will be 3 cars finishing this Grand Prix. My God. As it turns out, it will be Mackenzie coming from the Wall of Champions chicane here. And he will win. This has to be the lowest amount of finishers of any Grand Prix in the Midwest. Yeah, there's your final results. Next week is Saudi Arabia. Hotspot, it has been a pleasure joining you this week. We'll see you next time.